Joining us on this broadcast live from Modi in Israel, we have with us Mark Regev, who is currently the senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you so much for taking our time and joining us on WION Ambassador.
My pleasure.
Right. Ambassador, Israel has launched a ground incursion to find and rescue the hostages, but the whereabouts of the hostages remain unclear. It still remains unclear. Not only this, but Israel has also clearly said that the siege on Gaza will remain until the hostages are released. What is the plan of action from now, and how can you get these hostages released?
So obviously, and you understand this, I cannot go into upcoming military plans, and we don't talk about them publicly. I can tell you that the goal of any Israeli operation will be to crush Hamas, to dismantle it as an organization, and to smash and destroy its military machine. And when this is over, we will have a new situation in the Gaza Strip. We didn't want this war. We were brutally attacked last Saturday morning, exactly a week ago today. We are defending ourselves. We didn't want this war, but we will finish it on our terms.
Right, Ambassador, you speak of how Israel will finish the war in its own terms. That is what even Netanyahu said this morning, that Israel will finish the war which was started by Hamas. And there is a complete siege on Gaza as of now. There is no food, no electricity, no fuel. There is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Help us understand, how does it help you with fight the war by denying Gazans basic provisions?
So they have declared war on us. And we didn't ask for this war, but as you know, we are responding to this war. And their decisions have consequences. You can't declare war on Israel and then expect business as usual. War is war. It is a terrible thing. But you cannot expect that the crossings will remain open and the trade will continue and that supplies will continue to pass through when there is a situation of war. And if you mention the electricity, so let's be clear. Hamas uses incoming electricity to help with its missile attacks on Israel. Their missiles use electricity. And we have just had now, 5 minutes before I've come on air, there was another barrage of rockets that reached Tel Aviv and the center of our country. Millions of Israelis were in their safe rooms or bomb shelters because of sirens that went off. Now, what is absurd about this demand for electricity? Not only do they use it for its military machine, but Hamas's own rockets destroyed the part of the power system, the lines that bring electricity to Gaza. So they have destroyed it with their own rockets, and now they demand that we fix the lines that they destroyed so they will have electricity, so they may fire more rockets at us. It is not a rational request.
Ambassador Regev, the Gazans haven't given a deadline, but do you think that they will be able to evacuate in such a short span of time? And what if they're not able to displace themselves in the time frame that has been given to them?
So we know which areas of Gaza where there will be difficult combat. And many of these areas are places where civilians live. Hamas has built its military machine inside civilian neighborhoods. Their network of tunnels under civilian housing. Their arms depots where they keep their rockets and other weapons inside civilian communities. Their command and control structure where they command their war, where they lead this war of terror against Israel inside civilian structures. Now, we know where they are, and we have asked civilian population. We don't want to see civilians caught up in the crossfire between Israeli forces and the Hamas terrorists. And so we've asked civilians in these areas, please vacate the areas under control. We wish you no harm. We don't want you to get hurt. Please vacate future combat zones for your own safety. And thousands, if not tens of thousands of Gazans have heeded our advice and are evacuating as we speak future combat areas. We don't want to see these people harmed. That's why we've asked them to move. But you should know, the message from Hamas is exactly the opposite. Hamas has said, stay, because Hamas wants them for a human shield. Hamas doesn't care at all about the safe being of the people of Gaza. They want them to stay in the combat zone. And I have even heard this morning reports that they are putting up roadblocks to prevent civilians from evacuating the future combat zone. It's almost as if Hamas wants to see the innocent civilian population of Gaza suffer. This is outrageous.
Ambassador, again, the human cost of war is extremely paramount at the moment. My last question to Ambassador, there is also a great deal of anger in Israel directed towards what Israeli believe was the intel failure of Mossad, which is renowned to be one of the best intelligence agencies of the world, and also negligence of the country's leadership. How do you react to this?
So we are all asking these questions. We in Israel pride ourselves on having very, very good, world-leading intelligence services. And unfortunately, the attack of last Saturday and the terrible price we paid, we didn't know it was coming. Now we are focused on winning. Yes, we are, as a country, united to defeat the terrorist threat. But when this is over, as we have done in the past, I'm sure there will be investigations. There could even be a commission of inquiry to find what went wrong and lessons learned for the future. We know in Israel how to look at ourselves in the mirror and how to see what we did right and what we did wrong. And if things were handled badly, if there was a failure, let's say, in intelligence, we will learn lessons from this. I'd like to say to you, on behalf of the government of Israel, our appreciation for India's strong support for Israel in this crisis, and your strong statement on the day of the Hamas attack put out by your Prime Minister. Greatly appreciated. We know India is a friend of Israel. And you know that after this happened, many world leaders wanted to speak to Prime Minister Netanyahu. One of his first phone conversations was with Prime Minister Modi. And I think this reflects not only the good relationship between the two prime ministers, but it reflects the strong and good relationship between our two countries. Now, India is playing a very positive role in the Middle East. You had hosted the recent G20 summit, which talks about a corridor from India through the Middle East, through the Arab countries and Israel, onto Europe. A corridor that can benefit India, benefit the Middle East, benefit Europe, benefit the world. A corridor of peace and cooperation and increased prosperity. Hamas, we must understand, is not just Israel's enemy. Hamas is the enemy as a terrorist group like ISIS. Hamas is the enemy of all those who want to see peace and cooperation in our region. And Hamas is against the sort of cooperation that is required to build this peace corridor. And if we look at two separate worlds, there is the world of India, Israel, the Arab states who want peace and cooperation and prosperity. And there is the world of Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran that they call for conflict and terrorism and violence. We will defeat Hamas. They will be decisively defeated. We will win this war. And when we do so, that's not just good for Israel because our citizens will be safer and better protected, but that is good for everyone who wants to see a more peaceful and stable Middle East. That is good for everyone who wants to see a more peaceful and prosperous world.
Ambassador, my last question to you. Are you seeking any help from the Palestinian Authority for the evacuation of the Gazans?
So there are, of course, different levels of communication with the Palestinian Authority. But I must tell you that we are disappointed because the Palestinian Authority says it is a partner in peace and says that it wants to find a political solution to the questions and the issues that separate Israelis from Palestinians. But they have refused to condemn Hamas's brutal October 7th massacre. They have refused to condemn it. In fact, the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority blamed my country. And I think it's time for moderate Palestinians to stand up and to say unequivocally, without mincing words, they must say unequivocally that they condemn the attacks on the Israeli civilian population. If failure to do so raises questions about their credibility as partners in peace, if you can't condemn the butchering of innocent people, the massacres, the kidnapping, the abductions, if you can't condemn the rapes, the burning of people alive, the beheading of people, this terrible, horrific ISIS-type violence, if you can't condemn that, what sort of partner are you in any sort of peace process?
Thank you, Ambassador, so much for taking our time and sharing your insights with us without mincing any words. Thanks very much, Ambassador Regev.
Thank you for having me.